So the announcement we want to make is that we've heard a lot of the concerns and the questions and the encouragements coming from people around wanting to see basically an Infinity Wars Classic mode sooner rather than later. It's been part of our plans to do this, but we were going to do it sequentially. But basically now we want to be clear that we're not making an Infinity Heroes 2. So to ensure that doesn't happen, we're going to build these 2 modes instead of the 1. So it's not much more dev time to get something super simplistic but playable and enjoyable over to you. So that's the big announcement. To go into a bit more detail as to why that's all happened, and just to bring you up to speed on events recently as well, I'll just basically talk out a few things that have been happening recently. So since 2018, our development efforts have been largely focused on Infinity Heroes, the tech and the design, but close to the end of 2019, we began investing time and resources into the pre-production of Infinity Wars 2, with a focus on grand sweeping improvements and entirely new systems that are reminiscent of what Infinity Wars was, but severely improved. We also began work on an Infinity Wars Classic mode, though much less intensively, as most of the work was already done, and it was basically down to a purely technical level on how we could and would proceed with it. So with the interest in Infinity Wars 2 still ever increasing, it's currently sitting on like over 2,500 wish lists with 0 marketing spend.
It's pretty good.
So I think we actually made $20 worth of spend, didn't we? If I think back, but it's been incredibly minimal spend on talking about this particular thing, and we began shifting our resources onto Infinity Wars 2. So we sat at about a 60-40 spread when IH2 and IW2 was respectively in May, and our vision was clear. Our path was set. And we were dedicated to it. So unfortunately, though, we found a bit of tunnel vision happening on what we envisioned with Infinity Wars 2. So we haven't been noticing our current path properly and how to get there in a way that makes sense. So we're looking for some answers. And it has been quite a hard journey to get there. But we're doing the best that we can with the resources we have. So it wasn't until the recent kamikaze efforts of one of our respected veterans that we got the words for it. So in the discussions that we had with the council during the fallout of the event, the problem which had been staring us in the face for months was made finally clear. We were doing this wrong. We were experimenting with the core foundations, having no solid frame of reference for a foundational gameplay experience. We were also looking to our players for feedback, with the only thing that we could really compare it to being Infinity Wars 1, which most of our players hadn't even played for some time due to bugs and to general game inactivity. So we're making a shift in our current priorities to better align ourselves with what our players want and expect in the short term, while also giving us plenty of room to move and pivot based on feedback that we get. So our dev priorities for Infinity Wars 2, we're basically going to have the IW Classic build and the IW2 build being built alongside each other. So what this means is that our prototype will have a core experience that's much more reminiscent of the original Infinity Wars mode, as close to it as we physically can, while the engine receives the upgrades necessary to handle the systems it doesn't have yet, right? So all these systems will come with time. It just will take us time, but we want to get something to you guys as soon as possible that lets you guys experience Infinity Wars 1 through Infinity Wars 2 prototype process, right? So some of these features that we won't be necessarily having for a while will be things like a functional graveyard zone. So we're just not going to include a lot of cards that will focus on these mechanics, or will do things that will try and, again, make it as clear, as pure a Infinity Wars Classic experience as we can make it. And so, once we've completed that, we can introduce changes that one at a time get direct feedback on the new systems individually. So if we showcased a build that has multiple systems working together that are far different from Infinity Wars Classic's design, then we've got a safe default to compare it to in terms of fun, playability, functionality, and design. So we can have our testing and experimentation as we look to improve an Infinity Wars, whilst also giving us a solid design foundation to work around as a frame of reference for what is a good, fun, and unique game. So it's been a fair bit regrettable that the original incident had occurred at all, but the volcanic eruption did leave some very fertile land. And while it was reckless in nature and not in an intended way, it did bring about change. And so, for your part in that, I'd like to give you a personal thank you, Merlini, for taking a stand for the game to be as good as can be, and taking an action that was interesting, but it definitely got our attention. And we do want to basically welcome you back whenever you would like to come back, but you're also welcome to hang out for when Infinity Wars 2 finally releases. Either way, I'm grateful for your contributions over the years, even the thousands of hours that you would have played. It's definitely helped the game become what it is now, and your last action will help it become even better. So thank you.
Yeah, so Merlini has earned himself a little bit of time in the naughty corner for what he did, but at the same time, he did it out of such a place of pure goodwill. Everything he does is because he is more passionate than most of the players that come through any of the games that have the most passionate players come through. He's more skilled than them, he's more dedicated than them, and that just shines through what he does. Whether or not it takes into account if it's the right thing or not to do, he does it purely out of passion and love for the game. So we see that, we get that, and even though we're a bit pissed at it, we have respect for that. Like we wouldn't even be considering even saying his name if we thought that what he did was bad for us in some way, shape, or form. And what was kind of crappy to deal with for the couple of days it was happening, it did give us the chance to actually move on and grow, which is absolutely phenomenal. So,
totally.
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. And look, I know that this has the potential to almost create a couple of camps within, or tribes within, the Infinity Wars community, but look, I'd like that to be a healthy competition and comparison, and to have healthy debate and discussion about systems and the way things are done, and we can find something that's going to work for and be enjoyable for as many people as possible.